Hey everybody, Matt Ball here with Jackson Kayak and Torqeedo, and today I've got a brand new Jackson Liska, and I'm going to be installing the new Torqeedo Ultralight 403A on this boat. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a really good platform for this install. One of the things that I like to have in a boat with a Torqeedo is foot steer. I just think it makes things a lot simpler. You get a lot more control out of your boat. So what I've got here, down here I've got all the stuff you're going to need to do this install. What I've got here is the Jackson kit that you can pick up through Jackson Kayak, and what it is, it's this the rudder tubing installation kit, and that's going to give you basically all the tubing and that you need, and the cable, which this is what comes in the kit. You get enough cable, you get the tubing and everything you need to run a rudder. You don't need the rudder unless you're going to put a rudder. With what we're doing, we're going to use the rudder kit and the Torqeedo instead of a rudder. The other thing you're going to need is this sliding track. This actually comes in one piece, and you're going to need to cut it in half, and then I'll show you on the boat how that is installed. After you get the steering set up, then you're going to need to mount your throttle, and what I'm going to use is the new Yak Attack throttle mount, which is a great way to easily mount that throttle for the Torqeedo on any boat. It works great, it's adjustable, it's a great little system. The next part that you're really going to need with any Torqeedo install is you're going to need a raising and lowering mechanism and then a reverse lock. And what I'm going to use is paracord, and then I'm going to use a combination of Yak Attack tie down eyelets. Now the next step, once you've got all that done, then you got to mount your motor. And this is the new mount prototype that's going to be coming out with this motor. And it's got an updated steering triangle, updated bracket, lifting bracket. Super simple to mount on a boat. It mounts on the 4-hole power pole mounting position on any kayak that has that. So we're going to go through all that and just kind of show you step by step, and then maybe later we'll go out and try to catch a few fish with it. So with this track that you're going to cut in half, you need to mount it where this was. So what I like to do, you need to get it centered right on those holes. Okay, this one's already threaded, that one's pretty basic. This one is a little tricky, but what I like to do is I'll use the foot peg, which already has the holes, and I'll hold it on here and mark the holes. That way I know that the holes are going to be spaced out correctly to match up here. All right, when you put these tracks on, one thing you're going to notice that once you take these off, the bolts that come out of these threaded inserts are going to be too long when you put this in. So what you need to do is to cut these off or get shorter bolts. So you can spin a nut on there, cut it off, and then use the nut to clean the thread back off, and you're good to go with the stock bolts. But or you can just pick you up some shorter bolts. That's only probably, I'm going to say, 1/4 of an inch bolt. So that's what you need for these back, because those threaded inserts are not deep enough. They're made to go through that thick plastic when you're only going through that tiny plastic with this insert. So the other thing you want to make sure is you put these in the track before you bolt it down. So all these do, they just slide in just like this. And then you secure it to the boat. What that's going to give you is sliding foot pegs. You can adjust them to wherever you need them. Of course, you're only going to be pushing. When you pull with the other one, it's going to bring the other one back. So they're going to work in unison, just like this, as you're going down the river. All right, now I'm going to show you probably the simplest part of an install on a Torqeedo. Now, with this new bracket, basically 4 bolts match up to the power pole mounting bracket, and you're set. So take your bolts, I hand start them. So this bracket's going to be able to stay here because it's got a quick release for the Torqeedo. So your Torqeedo motor and everything is just going to pop right off. You can throw it in the truck and you can travel with this. So it's going to work great. There you go. Your motor is mounted. You get off the water at the end of the day, throw this lever, pop it off, disconnect your steering cables, which we're going to run here in a minute. So what I've done, I went ahead and put this on here now before I run the steering cables, because what I like to do personally, I like to run my steering cables below the pivot point. Okay, what that allows me to do is to hold my feet on my foot pegs and have reverse instant without having to worry about the lever, the reverse lock. So that's an option you can think about. Because of that, this boat has pre-molded places for the rudder install. I'm not going to use those. I'm going to go ahead and bring it out back here so that I can run my cables below. That's going to give me much better reverse control. One thing you're going to notice if you run it like I do with the steering triangle below, fish a lot of rivers and even in lakes with stumps, but if you hit something with this, okay, your feet are going to feel that, and you're just going to basically get used to the fact that when you hit something, your feet come off, this kicks back up and your foot pegs just slide back. And what you don't want to do is keep super hard pressure on those foot pegs, because then it can cause breakage of your cables or something like that. So whereas if you have the steering triangle up here, you don't have that issue. So it's a little something to be a little more careful of if you put it down here. You want to keep your feet light on your foot pegs when you're in shallow water or near stumps. All right, so now we're ready to run the tubing for our stainless cable that's going to run our rudder control steering. So I'm going to drill a hole on right here, and I'm going to feed this tubing back and then bring it out the back. So that tubing is going to come in here. I'm going to feed it back, and I'm going to bring it out right about this line on the boat. I'm going to probably go right about there. What I want to do with this steering triangle, I need it to clear all of this stuff. Okay, so I want to have as straight a line as possible from the back of the boat to here to steer this motor with. So you want to make sure you use a drill bit that is just big enough for the tubing that you're going to use. Now the Jackson kit comes with this tubing, and I'm not sure the name of the size, but what I like to do is I got a scrap piece here, drill a hole. Okay, and you want that tubing to fit in it, but you don't want it to be loose. And that right there is the perfect size. So I'm going to use that drill bit. That way you're not drilling a hole in your boat and then realizing that it's way too big and sloppy. So the other thing you want to be kind of take an idea of where your attachment point for your cable is going to be, and try to keep that in as straight a line as possible. So we're going to drill that hole towards the top of this right here. And we're just going to feed this through here all the way to the back. So the way this boat comes, this is the Jackson Liska, it comes with just a solid plate back here. You're going to need to cut that out. I used a Dremel, and then you're going to need to buy the Jackson day hatch. Mount that here. What that does, it gives you access to run stuff in the back of the boat. Most guys that are doing a lot of fishing are probably going to want to run some stuff in the back of their boat. So this is something I'd highly recommend for a Liska. It comes with a dry bag, well, a semi-dry bag. But mainly I'm using this just to be able to access the back. So right now I'm going to try to grab a hold of all that tubing that I just ran with this piece of wire. So right now I'm trying to fish this cable that I just jammed in from the front. What a lot of times it'll help, I didn't do that, but I've got a long piece of wire with a hook on the end. I'm just trying to grab it. You want to make sure that cable is running on the outside of the scuppers, okay? And in order to make this a little simpler, you can tilt the boat up on its side, which will help run the wire down the edge, but I think this will work pretty good if I can grab it. So I've drilled my hole back here. I've ran my cable from the front to the back. Now I need to get this tubing through this tiny hole from the inside. And a little trick is to cut this tubing at an angle. Gives you a sharp point. That way you can reach in through this hatch. There we go. You want to pull these. And don't do what I just did. And pull it through here. So we'll have to fix that. So I'm just cutting a nice clean square edge on the end of the tubing. I'm going to take my lighter. I'm just going to heat the end of it. You want it to start mushrooming out. Take a putty knife and flatten it. Okay, I'm going to do that a couple times. Now I'm going to take this, just take a screw, just kind of open the inside of it out just a little bit. Let it dry. Okay. What that gives you is a nice hard flat edge that's going to seal up here and not allow water in. Take my silicone, put a little bit on the back side of this. Don't take much, just make sure it's all the way around. Okay, you come to the back, you're just going to pull that. There you go. So now I'm ready to terminate the tubing on the back, on the stern of the boat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a hold of this tubing and I'm going to pull on it and just kind of stretch it tight. I'm going to take my vice grips and I'm just going to grab the end of it right there. Okay, that's going to keep it held out there. I'm going to put some silicone on this right now, because once I'd let go of that vice grip, this is going to suck back in and it's going to seal. So I just want just enough to be able to burn it. Okay, and then I'm going to take this screw to open the hole up that I've kind of got pinched off in there. Okay, so what that did, I've got the silicone all the way around it. I've got it all mushroomed out. I've got the hole opened back up. And when I let go of this, it's going to go right in and just seal off, just like that. So now we're going to feed the cable through the tubing that I've just ran. So this is pretty straightforward. We've got the tubing stretched in there. It should be a nice straight run. We're going to shove this out until it comes out the back. So now on that one, it came out real easy. But let's say that you get to the back and you can't get this cable to pop through because you've messed up this mushroom and maybe the hole's not big enough. That's where this screw is going to come in. What you can then do is just screw that into that tubing. I'm not going to do that because it's already sealed. But you can screw that in there and pull that tubing back out, cut it, and re-mushroom it if you need to. So that's a little tip with that screw. So now we're ready to attach the cables to the foot steer. And what you need to do, I've already done it. I went ahead and I had to take this bolt back out, which is the pre-threaded one, which it's easy. That way you can rotate this up and be able to access the back of this. So basically, these Jackson cables come with a pre-crimped on attachment point. Okay, what you're going to use is the bolt that you took out of this originally that was too long to go back in. That's going to work for this. So what you need to do, put that bolt through, and then put a nut on the end, and then we'll tighten that down. And that's going to be how you attach the steering cable right there. Okay, well now we're ready to set our cable length for our foot steer. What I've got here, I've got a C-clamp. The reason that I've got this C-clamp on here, you want your body weight as far forward in this kayak as possible. That's going to give you the best performance with the motor on the back. It's going to trim your boat out. It's going to just give you much more efficient use of the motor. So what I've done here, this one here is set up, and I'll show you what I did. These foot pegs will adjust just about anywhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide this as far forward as I possibly can, all the way up, okay? And I'm going to, on this side, I'll show you what I did by showing you on this side. This foot peg is shoved all the way forward over here. And then I just gave it a 1/2 inch clearance. That's what I've got here. So this foot peg on this side is shoved all the way forward with a 1/2 inch clearance. And then I took this C-clamp and I've just got it secured so it can't move. And I'll show you why you do that. You've got your cable running back to the back here. Okay? And what you need to do back here is you need to set this for that foot peg turning this boat to the right. So what you're going to do, the kit comes with some shrink tubing. You want to slide that shrink tubing on first. Okay, you're going to take one of these swedges, put it on, and then we use I use these night eyes. They're great quick attachment points for a lot of things. That's what I'm going to use on this boat. So you're going to take this through, complete the connection right here, and what I'm doing here, I'm going to pull this tight. Okay, right there, that is tight. I'm pulling on that. That is going to be the position for that side right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to crimp that on right there. Hands. You want that to be really hard to close. It's going to pinch that thing down. As you can see, if you look close there, that really smashed that thing down. I'm going to do it again, a little closer to the edge. And that is mashed down and secure. So now I'm going to get my side cuts, cut that off, slide. Okay, now that I've got that crimped, you want to take your side cuts and cut this cable. Now here is a very important tip. You'll want to cut this side, not this side. I am not going to tell you why I know that. Slide this shrink tubing over it. All right, now that we've got this side set to completely forward, which is going to turn your boat to the right, we've got this clamp on here which kept it from, so that we can pull that tight. We're going to take that off now. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the other side now. We need to shove this side all the way forward. Give it the same 1/2 inch, about a finger's width of space right there. Clamp this down. It's going to keep it from moving. Okay, now what I'm going to do, when I turn this motor, watch that foot peg up there, because this is attached. So as I turn this motor, that foot peg is going to come back. So that is our full range of motion right there. Okay, so now we need to set this side. Okay, so we got that side done. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. We've got that foot peg as far forward as it'll go, and it's attached with the C-clamp. So we're gonna do the same thing we did on that side. We're gonna pull this tight, give it as big a range of motion as possible, and then we're gonna crimp that. Okay, well, we've got everything attached, everything's ready, and the last step I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna attach the throttle. And what I've done is, this is the new Yak Attack throttle mount for Torqeedo. This goes on. The Liska has a perfect spot right beside the seat. Slide this bracket on, tighten it down, and then you got your throttle right here. It slides on, and there you go. You can rotate it around if you want, but I'm probably going to leave it right like that. It's got some different adjustments if you need it. You can make it higher, lower, or you can rotate it around just about any way you want. So right there's where I'm going to leave it. Next thing I want to show you is I've got the raise and lower line attached. This Liska really makes it simple. It's already got lines here for a drag chain. That's what I used. I've just got it coming up. I mounted two Yak Attack Mighty Mount XL top mount tracks here, and then I've got the right here, these are the Yak Attack tie down eyelets. I put one over here for this, just got a ring tied on, and the Liska comes with a I'm going to take this throttle off so you can see a little better. Sorry. Right here is just a little hook so to raise the motor. Right, just like that. You got it raised, unhook it, goes down, and with this hook right, with this Yak Attack eyelet right here, that just keeps your ring right there where you need it. So you can just reach down at your side. We need to raise the motor, right there for you. So on the other side, we've got another Yak Attack Mighty Mount XL with an eyelet, and what I'm using on this side, this is our reverse lock. Same hook is on this side, and it works great. So if you want to use reverse, you just can hook that on there. That pulls this up, and that locks it in reverse. So you've got solid reverse control. Unhook it if you want to raise. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you here is this has a stowing into position for travel. Now, the way I set this up, I've got the steering triangle underneath. It comes with these quick levers, like you have here. It comes with one. You can either put it up here on the tilting mechanism, but I've got it down here on the new steering triangle. And what that allows me to do, when I raise this up, it's going to hit there. So I want to loosen this up, and then I can slide this triangle all the way down till we get there. Put the bungee across, and hook it, and you are stowed and ready to go. Then when you get to the water, unhook it, lower it down, and then you just need to raise your steering triangle back up to the position. Just like that. You want to make sure it's straight. Just eyeball it, lock it down, and you're good to go. So I showed you how to stow it and leave the motor on and travel. But if you'd prefer to take it off, say you're going on a really long trip, I would recommend just taking it off. It's real simple. Just disconnect your lines. Loosen this lever right here. Throw it in the truck. That's all you got. Simple as that. So we just got to the water and we're getting ready to try this thing out. And I noticed when I looked at it, looked to me like this motor is setting down in the water a lot farther than it needs to be. I like to basically look at the prop when it's in the up position and kind of look at it to where it's just under the water. You don't want it out of the water, but you just want, there's a sweet spot. I think this one is just a little bit low. With this new mount, all you've got to do to adjust that is this screw right here. You need an Allen wrench and a socket, 8mm I think. Yep. You're just gonna loosen that up. You're gonna slide that down to about where you want it. I think we're gonna try it right about there. Just kind of eyeball everything, keep it straight. Tighten that down good, that way your motor's not gonna slip on you. Now once I did that, this steering triangle is too high. So all I've got to do is loosen this thumb screw, or this quick release, and bring this thing down right about there. And that should do that. Now this is a good time to show you the new version versus what the old one. This is my original mount, the original Torqeedo mount. And the way that you would have changed this before, you would have had to have loosened 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, tweaked that thing, and added rubber spacers right here. So that is just a whole lot more work to get it tweaked. With this one here, you can move this pin right here, will adjust the trim on this motor. When I first got here, it was actually kicked back a little bit. And we decided we wanted to just move this thing, get it a little more level. And I think we're going to start here, but all I've got to do is pull this pin out and move it to these 4 different positions to get different angles for this motor to run. On this one, like I said, you have to do it here. Now on the old motor, as far as raising it up and down in the water, it was done with this right here. So you would loosen this screw right here and either slide the motor up or down. As you can see, this motor here is setting, it's where I've been running it all year. That's about the height that I've been running it. But this motor is, if you look, is kicked forward a little bit. And I've got all the spacers that I could put on this thing. So that's why that motor is setting that way. With the new one, there's so much more adjustability than what I had with the old one. So that's going to be a big benefit to the new Torqeedo mount. Literally turning around in one spot. Oh, this is crazy. I'm not moving. So this thing is first time I've had it on the water. And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with this this boat with the Torqeedo. With these foot steer, man, I can turn this thing around in its own length. So it's pretty incredible. Everything works pretty cool with what I've got. The reverse lock works great. I love the way I've got this set up for my raising and lowering. Okay, with this seat, right now I've got it slid all the way forward. But what's nice about this is when I get to where I'm fishing, I can loosen these 2 knobs right at my feet and slide back, and then I've got a little bit more maneuverable boat. With this seat slid back, I just lost 0.4 miles per hour. I'm at 5.1. Right now, I'm up to 5.3 already, so that's all it took. There's 5.3 consistently, so it's a big difference. But I wouldn't want to fish with the seat this far forward, but from point A to point B, it's easy to slide it up, get the nose down, get the boat trimmed out, and you can go get that extra speed. Whoo! That's what we're looking for. Quick install on the Jackson Liska with the Torqeedo Ultralight 403A. It's a great combination.